morning. Matt, Bob, Chuy. Intern George has been on the mic today as well. And now we're joined by becoming a show friend, filmmaker Ben Steinbauer. And Ben, let's remind people, because you were in here, I want to say, was it almost a year ago that your show was on? You did a documentary, sort of a documentary series about a dispensary in L.A.
That's right, with Jimmy Kimmel as executive producer. It was called High Hopes, and I think that would that have been a year and a half ago?
Was it that long ago now?
Well, the show came out on 4/20, which is the only reason I know that.
So it would be a year and a half ago.
That's right.
Yeah. And it was like a fun, like a limited series where you got to look into and see these, I don't know, the cast of characters that work in a dispensary in Los Angeles.
That's right. The idea was that we were doing a real-life Parks and Rec or The Office, but with characters who worked in a dispensary right off Hollywood Boulevard. Jimmy Kimmel's company came to me and said, we want you to do this show. And I said, well, I don't like reality shows. And they go, you're hired because we want you to make a documentary.
Not a reality show.
Not a reality show, exactly. So we did 8 episodes for Hulu that premiered 4/20 of 2023.
And one more time, it's called High Hopes. And you can and people can still grab it and see it now.
Absolutely.
And we're having you in here for other reasons, but you're also you've become a personal friend. And Bob went to film school, so I think you guys have so much you could dig into. And you have some big wins yourself. A lot of people, even if they don't necessarily right off the bat recognize your name, because I think that's one of the weird things that happens at documentaries is that unless you're Errol Morris or something, sometimes names aren't always attached. But one of your projects made it big time, and it's a Winnebago Man, and you found, well, just tell people what Winnebago Man is.
Well, thank you for saying that I'm big time. I keep telling my mom that, and she's
not listening?
Yeah, she doesn't agree. I appreciate that you do. Thank you. So let's see, that would have been 2009 Winnebago Man came out. Basically, I got obsessed with what was one of the first viral videos.
Right.
And it was a outtakes reel of a guy named Jack Rebney trying to sell a Winnebago and doing a terrible job. And my friends and I basically watched this outtakes compilation of him swearing at himself.
Just screaming at himself.
For not being able to sell?
Not being able to get the copyright when he's trying to record ads.
Yeah. Right.
I know you saw it because it went around everywhere where him going, all right, you GDMFer, good, why don't you just go ahead and screw it up again and say the words you didn't mean to say.
Exactly. Would you do me a favor? Would you do me a kindness? I can't make my effing mind work. I mean, it's just full of quotable lines, basically. And it's July. They're in Iowa. There's flies everywhere. He's having a terrible time. And basically, I got obsessed with this clip. Nobody knew anything about the guy. What I could find online seemed to suggest that he was ashamed of this clip and was trying to basically live as a hermit.
I had actually heard for a long time that he had passed away.
Yeah, there was no information, basically. So I hire a private investigator, go find this guy with the express purpose of basically just saying...
Redeeming him?
You should... Well, it wasn't even that. I was a true fan, and I wanted to let him know that this thing had brought a lot of joy to me and to my friends, and this wasn't anything to be ashamed of. And I know that sounds very Pollyanna-ish, but I am from Kansas, and I do look like a youth pastor, and it was sincere. So, like, I approached him about making this film. I found him. He was a hermit living on top of a mountain in Northern California. And he was very suspicious of me at first, but then I win him over, and he shows his true colors, and he becomes the guy in the video to me.
To you.
And then the movie is really about our friendship that blossoms and develops, and he realizes that, the audience is laughing with him.
With him, not at him.
Exactly.
At him. And there's a redemption story there for people.
Yeah.
And you are impassioned. It's difficult to make documentaries, though. I do think there's a new fan base for documentaries. For a long time, documentaries... Because the only place that you really look, you used to make a documentary. It was a labor of love. There was never going to be $1 billion payout for a documentary. You had to really love it. But one of the places that you could make some money was in the education space. And so, what happened is a lot of people, maybe who didn't know how to make great narratives, could sometimes go there. But a lot of times, what we were seeing were more of these educational experiences. There were a few people that broke through, and then I think everyone kind of opened up their brain a little bit to Ken Burns when the Ken Burns documentaries took off. I think that changed things. But Still, when we talk about pacing, a Ken Burns documentary is not exactly keeping you on the edge of your seats, right? But since then,
when does this war end?
Here's another zoom in on a photo.
But we've now seen so many of these limited series. Well, let's call it, true crime.
Tiger
has its own
King and all
thing.
that.
Tiger King, right? And all of those things are blurring the lines between reality television and documentary film. Have you seen the changes, and how do they affect what you do for work?
I have seen the changes. That's a big part of why I'm here, is to talk to you about the new project that I'm doing. But I'm curious, to prove your point, who directed Tiger King?
Don't know. No idea.
Exactly. See, so I like to think of documentary filmmakers. I played football in high school. I was an offensive lineman. Documentary filmmakers are the offensive linemen of
right.
the film business.
Right.
You don't know who they are, but you like their work.
And you need them.
And you need them.
Yeah.
That's right. They're very important. They play a very important specialized role. And so the new project that I'm here to talk to you about is a series that I'm doing with a fellow documentary filmmaker named Keith Maitland, who lives here in Austin. He directed Tower, Dear Mr. Brody, very successful doc
Tower
filmmaker.
was a big deal as well, and Tower was a fun documentary that had a lot of mixed media. There was a lot of animation that was involved in Tower, and it retold the story of the 1969 tower shooting at University of Texas.
I think that's true. I don't know if fun is the correct adjective to use about a school shooting documentary.
Well, what I will say is that they brought a new take to it that we hadn't seen in a lot of other documentaries that helped them kind of recapture a lot of the storytelling that people were doing. So you weren't just looking at a talking head.
Oh, that was like the half animated one?
Yeah,
okay.
right.
I love that one. That was
it's
good.
great. It won all the awards. He was, very successful. Keith's a really talented filmmaker. And basically, he and I are friends, have been for many years. We were going on walks about every 2 weeks, talking about the state of the industry, talking about our projects. And at some point, one of us said, should we do a podcast? And the other one said, no, that's a terrible idea.
Right.
And then about 6 months went by, and then the other one said, maybe we should do a podcast. And we finally just agreed, yes, let's do this. And what we do is we film these walks. We go on walks here around the city, or when we travel, we went to Sundance. We've done some in New York, some in Los Angeles. And basically, we bring on a guest, usually another documentary filmmaker, and we talk about the state of documentary. We talk about their projects, our projects, the importance of nonfiction filmmaking. And by filming it, we put it up on YouTube, on Spotify, and then we also make it audio only as a podcast. And so my theory is that podcasts and TV shows are sort of merging.
They are. Everything's sort of coming together into one.
Right.
Because we do like authenticity.
Absolutely. And so the walk is kind of part of the experience, right? So like you guys do a show, we're sitting here in a studio. If we were out walking, we would talk about what we see, what we're, who we bump into, that sort of thing becomes part of the conversation. And the history of the film business, it always starts in a studio. The cameras are like the size of cars. Technology progresses. All of a sudden, you can take cameras out in the world. You can make documentaries. You can make single camera sitcoms or TV shows. And so the technology is such right now that we have these tiny little cameras that shoot 4K, track our faces, record audio great, and then basically we can edit them using these AI software programs, and then have do a weekly show with basically 2 to 3 people.
Well, and there's one of the things I want to bring up too, because I will say to a layperson, when you say we're talking about documentaries, for some people that does sound like Snooze Fest 5000. But I've watched it, and you guys are really good personalities. You're interesting in what you're talking about. And for a lot of people, I've loved documentary film since I was a kid. What was a problem when I was younger, like especially before the internet really took off, is you didn't know where to find them. They certainly were never on HBO or whatever. And you learned that, there were these certain rental places that were kind of underground. Now, you had to go to the right ones, because if somebody said I'm looking for a place to rent underground VHS, you
had the book under the counter with the covers.
Exactly.
I remember those places.
But, of course, we know places in town like I Love Video and Vulcan Video, and there were these places before we had streaming, before we had the internet, and you would have these, employees' choices, and that's how I learned a lot. Sherman's March, which was an
Ross
incredible,
McAway.
right?
Yep.
And so, which is fun because I can name these documents, and the actual filmmakers, but there were, Bush's brain. There were all these things and Feed was another documentary that I was really into, which was people running for president, and when they link you to another location, so you go into a studio in Florida for an interview that's going to happen in L.A., but when they're running the feed in the 10 minutes before you go live, that stuff is still stuff that people captured, and it shows the real personalities. So they made this documentary out of these Clinton, Bush, all these other...
Or the famous Bill O'Reilly, where we'll do it live.
We'll do it live, right.
Yeah.
So all those things... So those things are great, and I like that you're pushing those. And I do think it's interesting because we were talking earlier today, too, about a lot of stuff that's happening with AI. And then we do feel cheated. Sometimes it's good, but that authenticity, and maybe we're talking about how it's all going to meld together, we want... People appreciate real because so many times, especially now when we see influencers, we know that they're doing what reality television did, which is, I have to be guaranteed a win. I don't want to just roll tape. So they're faking their stuff.
Right.
And it feels like they're cheated when it's faked.
But, okay, so I hear what you're saying, and maybe Ben can talk to this point. I'm always amazed at the risk that real documentary filmmakers take, and that you don't know at the end of the day, or at the end of the shoot, or the end of the project, if you're going to get anything at all.
Yeah. Well, the best ones
some directors will make things happen because they know they have to have, especially if there's corporate money on the line or whatever. They want you to deliver a product, and you can't go to them 6 months later and say, we rolled camera, but nothing happened.
Right. Well,
right. So how do you guard against? How do you protect yourself against that without stepping away from the camera and going, hey, could we try this?
Yeah.
Could we try to make this more cinematic or make this more interesting? Because nothing's happening right now. We've been here all day and it's kind of hot.
I think it's about the relationship with the funding, right? So, like, if you're making something for a huge network that has a lot of money on the line, they're going to give you a lot of notes and push in a lot of cheesy directions. But if you are doing something that's more self-financed, financed with private money, or just for, like, smaller stations, that's when Sherman's March, for example, the one that we were just talking about, he made it as a grant and then basically lets you in that, like, hey, I just got grant money to make this film. My girlfriend broke up with me. I'm heartbroken and depressed, so I'm just going to start rolling the camera on myself. It's this crazy bet, and you're, like, in the crouch position the whole time because you're watching this plane go down, essentially. And those are the best movies, the ones that aren't doing the thing that you're talking about, where you're trying to force an ending.
But I've seen so many movies that have an amazing swerve at the end, and I go, "What were you didn't know that was going to happen when you took the like
that
Dear
film,
Zachary,
the amazing
Dear Zachary,
or Icarus. Did you see that one? It starts off about a certain, like, cyclist, and then it becomes about this cyclist taking Russian steroids, and then the Russian chemist becomes the main character, like, totally corrupts the story.
Wow.
And so those are really the best movies where, like, you, as the filmmaker, you don't know the ending, you're taking the audience on a ride. And that's the stuff that I love to make. And I think that speaks to that authenticity piece you're talking about.
Right.
Which is, like, people are kind of looking for, like, surrogate relationships right now through podcasts or radio or TV shows. And so if you can be real and be, like, a funny character, like, I was coming to do the show today, and my wife wanted me to be sure to tell you, Chuy, that she really loves you, and that she feels like that you are going to find
She sounds like an idiot. I don't trust her. I don't trust her at all. I don't know.
And see, so my wife has a connection with you from listening to the show, and I think that's what most people are looking for, is, like, some kind of authentic. Like,
you got to see something in themselves.
I want to tease you about one thing also, but a reminder, because anybody can watch this. This is something. This is not on a stream.
For free. We put it out weekly. It's called Doc Walks. You can follow us at Doc Walks Pod at YouTube, Instagram, X.